with Glenn, Julio, and Rob. And today we are going to be talking about our 10 favorite WWE wrestlers of all time. Obviously, from when we were watching growing up, possibly anybody. Yeah, it's pretty simple and easy today. So with that, I'm just going to kick it over to Glenn, who will talk about stuff.
Did you say you were kicking it over to me?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about our top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. Um, a lot of us, there's only four of us here. But me, David, and Julio are under the age of 30, so a lot of our wrestlers are going to be more recent than others. But we're going to kick it off with Rob, the one person that can actually go a little bit deeper into his wrestlers. So take it away, Mr. Rob.
Yeah, you said others. There's only one other. Uh, I did mine. I'm going to do mine from the 10 all the way up to 1. Pretty hard list. All-time favorite wrestlers because I feel like I left some off after thinking about it and the other stuff. But number 10, I got Hacksaw Jim Duggan, whose finishers were the Old Glory and its three-point stance clothesline. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was just fun to watch. He was walking around cockeyed with that 2x4, just and the American flag. It just pumps you up. And maybe he wasn't like all-time championship material or anything like that, but he was just fun to watch to me. Number 9, I got Rick Rude, ravishing Rick Rude, and with the finisher, the Rude Awakening. He was Rick Rude was another guy who was fun to watch. His cocky attitude, especially when he put Miss Elizabeth's face on his pants, and the way he did things, he was just he just at the time seemed like he was his cockiness made you feel like he was the man of the men. Like nobody could do anything. He could do whatever he wanted without repercussions. Another fun guy. He was fun to watch back in the '80s. Number 8, I got Jake the Snake with his Snake Sebastian. His finishes were the DDT. Jake the Snake, I think, is a legend. I think he was underrated. Probably could have won the belt a few more times than he did, in my opinion, at least. I think the most fun part was, especially if there's somebody who was afraid of his snake, after he pinned him, he put that snake on him, and the looks on their face was just, you just laughed because they look like these big grown men with big muscles, just look like little girls in skirts running up screaming and crying. That's what made it most fun to watch, in my opinion. And number 7, I got the Junkyard Dog. Junkyard Dog wasn't anything special either. I think I got him number 7 instead of lower because one time I got to go to wrestling at the Chase when I was a kid, and he was coming down the aisle, and I got to dance with him, the thump dance in the middle of the aisle. Everybody else was watching. I thought that was the coolest thing. That made me love wrestling more than anything when he did that with me. And then he shook my hand, and I even got to touch his chain. It was just something I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget. Number 6, I got Randy Macho Man Savage with his finishers. His finisher, they really didn't have a name for it. It was just an elbow drop from the top rope, snapping to a Slim Jim. Macho Man, he was just the Macho Man. He's one of the best, in my opinion, all-time wrestlers. Number 5, I got the Ultimate Warrior with the Ultimate Splash as a finisher, or the Ultimate Warrior. He was fun to watch. He had crazy colors. He looked like big bodybuilder guy. You're a little kid, you're watching him, and you're like, that's what I want to look like when I grow up. And, another fun guy to watch. These last 4 were hard to place for me because these guys, in my opinion, are probably the best of the best. Number 4, I got The Undertaker with the Tombstone, Hell's Gate, and Choke Slam as a finisher. Undertaker, I remember when he first came out, the first time I saw him, I was a little kid, and I thought, man, this guy's scary. He's going to mess everybody up in the ring. He's going to hurt people. And he did. That's exactly what he did. The Undertaker, one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion. With the jackhammer, uh, Bill Goldberg kind of got me back into wrestling a little bit. Between being a kid and an adult, he was fun to watch. I mean, it just seemed like nobody could beat Goldberg back then. These last two were hard for me, and but at number two, I got my St. Louis boy Randy Orton with the RKO, DDT finishers. Randy Orton, I'll be honest with you, I got back into wrestling because of my kids. He's from St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis. I had to have somebody to cheer for, and then watching him and all this time and all that, and he's one of the best wrestlers of all time, in my opinion. I think he can reach up to 16, maybe beyond, along with Flair and John Cena. And then number one all time because he's the man that got me into wrestling. He's the man who's been helped wrestling get off to where it is. One of the men who helped get it off to where it is. And watching him when I was a kid in the wrestling ring, especially when he was getting hit and he'd get pissed off and shaking his head, and then he just go and attack. And Mr. Hulk Hogan, in my opinion, number one all time. His finisher was the leg drop. I remember seeing Hulk Hogan for the first time in Rocky 3 before he really got big into wrestling. I've seen him in Rocky 3. I didn't like him because he was Thunder Lips in there, and he was the bad guy, and he beat up Rocky, or tried to beat up Rocky, and that's why I didn't care for him much. But when he was in WWF and he got off going, and to me, he was one of my first heroes when I was a kid. And I know he did some bad stuff, said some dumb shit and all this other stuff, but to me, he was always going to be number one in wrestling for me. And that's my top 10.
All right, I'm glad you said Hogan number one. He's stealing my thunder, but we'll get to me soon. But yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of his list, and that's why Rob went first, because there's a lot of old timers on that list that
A
I
lot of
didn't
old
have the
time.
I didn't have the honor to watch most of those guys, but I'm definitely happy Rob brought that to you guys. So Julio, you go now, and this will be fun. Go ahead, Julio.
I would say I can't. I
You can do it, Julio. Come on, we got faith in you, buddy.
can't. I would say. Uh, this is the top 10, right? Not the top negative.
Yeah.
Okay. I would choose the number 10. I would say Kane as number 2, as number 10. And I don't have a reason for none of them because I don't feel like going on and on and on like that.
That's
Anyway,
okay. Just
number
name them.
9 would be uh, Bret Hart, I guess. Number 8 would be Kofi Kingston. Number 7 will be Big Show. Number 6 will be Braun Strowman. Number 5 will be um, uh, Shawn Michaels. Number 4 will be uh, Bray Wyatt. Number 3 will be Batista. Number 2 will be uh, Randy Orton. Number 1 will be Brock Lesnar.
No Goldberg? Did you say Goldberg?
Number number 11 will be Goldberg. Yeah.
Okay. Now mute your mic, David. It's your turn.
All right, thanks Julio for that oh so great list. So, I'm the youngest of the group, so a lot of my guys, I mean, they're not new, not this like new era PG bullshit, but Julio, mute your mic. Um, but I got some guys from the late '90s and 2000s when I first started getting into wrestling, and so I actually have some honorable mentions before I get into my list. Goldberg, Batista, RVD, Randy Orton, and Kane are my 5 honorable mentions. Um, but no really need to talk about those. So getting into my list at number 10, I have Bradshaw, or John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL. Um, he was always so good when he was in APA with Farouk. Even when he made his heel singles run, as a kid, you're taught, well, don't like the heels. Well, JBL was one of those guys where it was just like, how could you not like him? Riding out in that limousine, his cowboy hat, and the feuds that man had with Undertaker, with Eddie Guerrero, with Rey Mysterio. I mean, they were, man, that was just great. At number 9, I have Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy, with all the crazy crap he would do all the time, was, oh man, it's incredible. Especially some of his old tag matches, Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian, or Hardy Boys versus Dudley Boys. I mean, those were some great tag matches, and Jeff Hardy was always the one doing some crazy something or other. Number 8 is Rey Mysterio. Rey was always a big time underdog, and I think his push after the passing of Eddie Guerrero was wrongly given, but I do also think he deserved it. But I just wish it was just so obvious that they gave it to him after the passing of Eddie. But that's besides the point. Number 7 is another fallen superstar, Chris Benoit. This man was so good in the ring. He did everything. He was so fun to watch as a kid. He held titles. I mean, I always thought he was one of the best United States champions ever, just because of the way he held it, the way he went out and did what he had to do. It was great. Number 6, I have Stone Cold Steve Austin. Just the badass, doing whatever he wanted to, whenever he wanted to. Obviously it wasn't good in his favor, but one of my favorite moments ever is, the Royal Rumble where he came out 1 and Vince McMahon was 2, and, they did all that business, and that was great. Number 5, I have Rikishi. He was always fun to watch. Big dude, like to put his butt in people's faces, whatever. If you're into that stuff, I guess. Number 4, I have Edge. Edge was always real fun to watch, when he started the whole rated R superstar thing, that was a really fun gimmick. Him and Lita were great together. Lita's my favorite diva of all time, so you put Lita with anybody and I'm probably gonna like him quite a bit. Excuse me. Number 3 is where I have The Undertaker slotted in. He appeared long before I got into wrestling, but he definitely had some of his best years, mid to late 2000s, and he was doing really good. Undertaker's Undertaker. Even if you're not a WWE fan, you know who The Undertaker is. Number 2, rest in peace, I have Eddie Guerrero. He was always so fun to watch, so charismatic. So, his lying, cheating, and stealing thing was great when at the end of the match he would toss a chair at somebody and fall on the ground and get the DQ win. It was incredible. But number 1, and this was very easy for me when I was making my list, is Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is just another one of those guys where he brought energy to everything. He brought fun to everything. The Sweet Chin Music is probably my favorite finisher ever. It's so simple, and it sucks that today, everybody seems to be using it. Luke Harper's kicking people in the face. Dolph Ziggler's kicking people in the face. I mean, everybody's just like, look, I can do a Sweet Chin Music. And then, of course, there's James Ellsworth, who doesn't even deserve to be mentioned. But yeah, so Shawn Michaels is on top of my top 10 list, and that's that.
All right. So, the moment, obviously, everyone's been waiting for. My list. Now I'm going to throw in some honorable mentions real fast because these guys aren't done wrestling yet, and these guys deserve a little mention. Kevin
Amen.
Owens, you get out of here. Kevin Owens will be on my top 10 by the time his career is done, but I just can't put him there yet. People will laugh at this, but Tyler Breeze and Fandango, I don't know why I like them, but I just do. Dolph Ziggler, John Morrison, Shelton Benjamin, Umaga, JBL, and Eddie Guerrero. Those are my honorable mentions. Well, I'm starting with number 10, my boy Santino Marella. He was one of the longest reigning Intercontinental Champions of all time. He's Italian. He was funny. He was actually a very underrated wrestler. He actually was a pro wrestler. Mute your mic, you Momo. Now, number 9, somebody that was probably on the top 3 of my list before he came back is The Rock. The reason he's so low on my list is because when he came back, he gave this stupid whole speech, I'm never leaving again, I'll be here for... And where is he? Gone again. He came back, he lied to all of us, he used us to buy some more of his movies, and it pissed me the hell off. He was one of my favorites of all time, and now he's dropped. I can't take him off completely, because he was the reason to watch the Attitude Era along with a couple other guys, but he's lower on the list now. Number 8, we got Y2J. I love Y2J. Y2J, because he came back and has been there like every week, people forget how great he was before. The only person ever to beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night. You know the whole story of Y2J. He's the most charismatic guy that's ever stepped foot in that ring, period. No one can outtalk Chris Jericho. 7, we got Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was the GOAT, straight up. Just the best wrestler to ever step foot in the ring is Kurt Angle. Gold medal with a broken neck. You know the story. He's a GOAT. And this right here is going to shock you guys. Number 6, we got John Cena. Not
Gay.
the now John Cena. Not the now John Cena. Basic
You're a
thugonomics John
faggot.
Cena. Basic thugonomics John. When he came in the ring and started rapping and started just torturing souls with his rap game, he was biblical. He came in with an attitude that was missing for a while. He came in his first day and beat Kurt Angle. He was great back in the day. Now he's a piece of garbage, and John Cena has props back in the day. Number 5, we got Triple H. If you don't like Triple H and you watch wrestling, you don't deserve to watch wrestling. He's a GOAT. He's done everything. Evolution, DX, won title after title after title, married Stephanie McMahon, running the company. Everything this business has to offer, Triple H has done, and he's done it at an A+ rate. Number 4, we got Edge. It sucked balls that he had to get hurt because he probably still would have been the champion today. Edge is a GOAT. There's nothing else you really need to say. The rated R superstar, plain and simple. Number 3, Randy Orton. Even though a lot of people love Randy Orton, they don't give him his proper due. Youngest champion of all time. Had that match with Mick Foley where his whole entire back was put into thumbtacks and bleeding. Everything this man has done for this company is just underrated. Even though he gets credit, he doesn't get enough credit. He's done everything with everybody. He's a GOAT. Still a GOAT today. Royal Rumble winner. Enough said. Number 2, it was tough not to put him number 1, but I actually have 2 people at number 1 already. The Undertaker. I mean, it's The Undertaker, man. It's The Undertaker. I don't even need to say anything else. It's The Undertaker. Number 1, as a tie, we got Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and Hulk Hogan. For anyone that makes a top 10 list and doesn't put Hulk Hogan, I don't understand that. Hulk Hogan was, is, and always will be the WWE. Always. Without him, there's no WrestleMania. Without Hulk Hogan, there's no wrestling today. The business was dying. It was dead. And then Vince McMahon said, let's do a WrestleMania. Hulk Hogan picks up Andre the Giant. Without Hulk Hogan, there's no wrestling. The GOAT. And Stone Cold, again, there's not much to say about him. If he came back today, he'd be everyone's favorite. If he came back in 10 years from now, he'd be everyone's favorite. If he came back 20 years ago, he'd be everyone's favorite. It's Stone Cold, another GOAT. So that's my list. I'm done with mine. They're done with theirs. We're going to kick it back to David so he can close it out. Unless anyone has anything to add or anyone they missed, the floor is yours.
Anybody have anything else to say besides Julio? All right. So with that, guys, that is the end of our podcast. Let us know your top 10 favorite wrestlers in the comments below. Go like if you like baseball, go like Smashmouth Baseball on Facebook. Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. And we kept this one short and sweet, so hopefully, you guys will like that a little better. Yeah, so I hope you guys have a good day, and your team or individual athlete, wrestler, whatever, does not. Have a good night.